Good morning, Colts Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the No Horsing Around podcast, brought to you exclusively by the Lounge Room Network. And on today's episode, so I joke, I put the tweet out. It's no juicing around because we have a special guest. I'm really excited. He's a buddy of mine. He's an amazing podcaster, runs an amazing podcast. Cody Felger's in the house, you guys. Cody, I'm so pumped to have you on, man. This is the first time we've had you on here, and me and you have been talking for probably 6, 7, 8 months.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe first time, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun as always, and I'm excited, man, to talk all things Colts because it's kind of a dead period right now. Not a whole lot going on, but there is some Colts football in the horizon, a little less than 2 weeks away, and I'm really pumped for it, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, I would be remiss if I didn't say, as always, we are the two dudes who are talking Colts. I am joined by my buddy, one of my best friends, Zach. Zach, what's up, man?
Hey, man, excited just to be on here. You know, like I said, you mentioned it earlier, big fan of Cody's to start with. So this should be a super cool pod. Dead time, but hey, what a better time to just kind of throw out some just hot topics and just go at it and just talk about some cool, exciting, interesting things around the NFL and then Colts related as well.
Yeah, I mean, so we're gonna kind of you guys know, rate, review, subscribe, share, follow, whatever it is you do, wherever it is you do it. Please go do it now. Smash the subscribe on our YouTube channel. Hit the it's follow now on Apple Podcasts. Do that one.
Super annoying,
but you know,
that's follow.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. So for those who don't know, and if you follow us, you do know, like, it took forever to get the logo change with Apple, and it took me screaming at Apple to get it and telling them they were going to be in violation of copyright. But I finally got it done, and I regret doing the update. But so we don't hesitate. We jump right into this. So over the weekend, and this is we're going to kind of do something a little fun here. Over the weekend, somehow, some way, I managed to get a topic somewhat trending with Colts Twitterverse, and it kind of expanded in general to the NFL Twitterverse, which I kind of wanted to just play with on here with you guys and kind of see what you guys have to say. Obviously, the first one that was asked was, I just kind of put it out there to everybody. Didn't matter if you were a Colts fan, anybody, any fan. You can be a Ravens fan, a Titans fan, whoever it was. And I was so interested to find out, you know, who is your favorite player all time for your favorite team? And then who's your favorite player right now? And then the fun part for me was just kind of being like, okay, so who do you kind of secretly like on another team? Like, who's your favorite player that doesn't play for your team? So I actually, as I was looking back through, I don't think I put mine, but I want to get your guys first. So Zach, let's start with you, man. Let's kind of, I know we've kind of played with it a little bit in the past, but we've never really hammered down these questions. And like you guys said, it's a dead period. Like, we're just going to have fun with this. So have at it, man. Let's hear it.
Of course, man. So my favorite player of all time is actually Reggie Wayne. He's my favorite Colt of all time, my favorite player of all time. I don't know. I just something about him, just the way that he was just so just consistent over his whole career. I just love the way that he caught the football and always really showed up in those big moments. And I thought he was one of those really, true Colts that knew and understood what football was all about. He had his time in the sun. And then he, just like Marvin did for him, he did the same thing for T.Y., which I thought was just incredibly cool. A guy's basically taking your spot, and you're able to go out there and want to teach him and want him to take that number one spot. Shows a lot about the character of Reggie Wayne. I think Reggie Wayne came in and really found out how to be a true pro, and he really, really worked. I think one of the coolest quotes that he had mentioned, and he heard this from Marvin, was that, they pay you to practice and the games are for free. And he always kind of played that way when he went out there on the football field. So yeah, 87 all day long. Reggie Wayne is my all-time favorite Colt. I'm gonna throw it over to Cody, man. Who's your favorite player hopefully he's a Colt player, but if not, who's your favorite player?
Breaking news: if Cody drops someone not on the Colts, what will we do?
If I drop Tom Brady, what's
Oh!
YouTube gonna do? I'm not going to, but if I did,
Podcast over if that happens.
Oh, what will happen?
I don't know. I think I might go to 0 followers if I do that. No, but anyway, Peyton Manning, it has to be. Peyton Manning is the reason why I'm here today talking about Colts football. Like he is. He's the reason why, my buddy and I growing up, my buddy was a Patriots fan. So we went back and forth every single year, Manning versus Brady, who was better. And then, just kind of by association with how much I love Peyton Manning and living in Indiana, I just naturally started following the Colts a little bit more extreme. And now, I follow him and I podcast about him just about every day. I'm tweeting about him, all that kind of stuff. And really is because of Peyton Manning. I mean, Peyton Manning is the reason why we're probably here today and talking about the Colts. I mean, he is just so legendary. And basically people call Lucas Oil Stadium the house that Peyton built for a reason. And so I just love watching Peyton Manning play. I wish I could have seen more of him. I kind of came in and, 2006, 2007, still saw some good years, but there were still some years I was just like, man, if I could have seen him from a rookie all the way throughout his career, that would have been awesome. So Peyton Manning, undoubtedly, unquestionably, not even close with anybody else. Peyton Manning is my number one.
So it's funny. I go back and forth between two. There's a player that I have that is the reason I fell in love with the Colts, and then there's my favorite player. Before I say that, Zach, I have to show this. So friend of the show, love her. Cody, you probably know her, Laura Steele up in Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. She's amazing. She's come on before. We're hopeful to have her on again. When she came on, she told some amazing stories about different things that she had been involved with and different players and Super Bowl. And when she jumped off, she was like, I forgot to send this to you. So I'm going to show this to you, Zach, and the YouTube people can see it too. That's her right there. That's with your buddy. She was so excited to send that. She was like, he is the nicest person she said she had ever met. Just was amazing. And I was like, when you said Reggie Wayne, I was like, I got to find the picture she sent me. That's so I was awesome. Like, I got to show that. So as far as my favorite, so it's tough, man. The reason I fell in love with the Colts is Marshall Faulk. It's 100%. He was my favorite player. Funny story, and Zach knows this, is literally when they traded him to the Rams, there was a part of me that was like, dang, am I going to be a Rams fan now? Because that's how much I was invested in him. But if you ask me who my favorite player of all time is, I've said it on Marcus's show on YouTube. I've said it when I go on different podcasts too. It's Bob Sanders. I love Bob Sanders mainly because when I started watching the Colts, they were deemed a finesse team. The team that's going to throw it all over the place, but you can push them around. And rightfully so, they had been pushed around quite a bit in the playoffs. And then Bob Sanders came in and had no regard for his body whatsoever, no regard for his life after football, which none of us know what the heck he's doing anyway. Like I've asked people, Cody, I know you've asked people. Zach, I know you've asked people. No one knows where he is. But he completely, in my mind, he's similar to like a DeForest Buckner right now. He just completely changed the way the team played, the way that people looked at them, the way that people played them. I wish, kind of similar to you, Cody, I wish I could have seen him play more. I saw him from a rookie until he left to go to the Chargers, but just the injuries, just the way he played, it just zapped him of that. Mm-hmm. And I wish we could have seen him play for a longer period of time. I think, he was Defensive Player of the Year. He probably would have done multiple Defensive Player of the Year. Probably, in my opinion, and I've put it out before, and I'll probably do it again. I think he's a Ring of Honor guy. I think he's it's backlogged a little bit. If he had played several more years at the level he was, possible Hall of Famer in my mind. But he is hands down my favorite player of all time. So, Zach, who's your favorite current player? Is who I'm curious to.
Before we want to do that, I just got like a round table discussion. I've always kind of been curious just to see what you and Cody would think about this. If we flipped Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, would Peyton have equal or less rings than Tom Brady? So if he was a Patriot and he had that team, that coaching staff, would he have equal rings, more rings, or less? Just off the cuff.
Mm.
Oh,
Come on,
ooh.
Steven. Come on, man. Turn your
I
hat
mean,
around.
always getting on to me about my hat the last couple of times. It's the
I'm
off
just,
season, man. It'll come around during the season.
I'm just messing with you, man.
Oh man, I mean, I'm gonna say so, and I'm gonna say he would have less,
Okay.
but I'm gonna say it because Tom Brady worked himself in the confines of the offense. That he ran it the way that he ran it. Peyton was the offense. When he went to Denver, they completely revamped the entire offense to do what he did. And I mean, because it's tough too. You can go there and say too that they had less talent, but he didn't. There were times that he didn't have a ton of talent in Indy, and he just elevated them. I think he would do that. I think he would elevate the talent that was there. But when he was at his best, man, that's dang, dude. I'm gonna say less,
Okay.
only because also too. I mean, 6 Super Bowls is a ton of Super Bowls, so that's a tough mark to hit.
Hmm. Well, I mean, I think he'd have more just because he'd have to do less in the playoffs, especially because I mean, how many times like you just think about it. If he didn't have to go to New England 2 times in a row, he probably would have won the Super Bowl 2 times in a row. Like, I mean, New England was the only team that was really standing in his way,
Yeah.
really for a long time there. So, you think about if he was able to just have a team where he could just hand it off, make plays when he needed to, and have that kind of defense. I think he could add more. I really do. And the best head coach of all time. I'm not afraid to say that. Bill Belichick. I really feel like he could have. And you're right, Steven. I think to your point, like he would have elevated players around him just like Brady did. He would have elevated guys around him. He wouldn't have had to have, he probably would have made, pretty average guys look a lot better. I mean, he did that later on with the Colts a little bit. So yeah, I'm going to go with more actually.
Yeah, I think you guys both have really, really good points. I'm with Cody though. I actually think he would have had equal or more. I think Peyton gets a bad rap. I mean, the guy played in 4 Super Bowls in his career, right? I mean, like that's a lot. That's a lot of times getting to the Super Bowl on 2 different squads, really kind of 2 different eras because he had the neck issue. One of the worst days of my life as a Colts fan, watching Peyton Manning get released, and go play for another football team. But yeah, I think with Bill Belichick, with such a good mind, just knowing that when he went out there on that football field, the type of defenses that Belichick has always put on the field, just the pressure of not really having to make everything happen all the way through it. Yeah, I mean, I think Peyton would have gotten more rings along the way, man. I really do. I think I'll say this. I'll go on the record. This is a hot take. I think Peyton Manning would have gone down as the greatest football player of all time if he would have been a New England Patriot. I know that sounds weird. I know that sounds crazy, but he would have had all of these rings, in my opinion. I think he was truly that good. For all that Bill Polian did great for us, I think he neglected our defense at times. And he really just put a lot on Peyton Manning, where he almost had to play perfect, and he did. He got some rings out of the deal, but he almost had to play perfect for us to get past New England, our arch nemesis. Anyways, sorry, Steven. Sorry I cut you off. I just thought that would be a cool.
Because I got a piggyback question. If we're all just like we say in our intro, we're all just kind of horse playing around right now and just kind of talking about what's trending. Here's a question for you when we're talking about Peyton Manning. You said you think he gets kind of a bad rap. I think he gets pushed down the list further and further. And in my opinion, I know you said if he had more rings. In my opinion, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. I put him above Brady. Now, this is with the caveat. I understand that Brady, in my opinion, and you can view it as a hot take or not, Brady, in my opinion, is the greatest winner of all time. That's where I put that. But Peyton revolutionized the entire position. He didn't go to the line with 1 or 2 plays. He went to the line with the entire playbook in his head. He changed the way the game was played. And I think he's forgotten about and he's pushed down the list. Now you hear Aaron Rodgers is above him. or, you hear like Michael Vick, you hear these different names. Do you guys think since he's retired, I mean, is he underappreciated more now than he was when he was a player?
I think, yeah, I think a lot of times it's just a trend with NFL people in general. It's like they seem to just like focus on the players that are current, and they like to push down players. They like to kind of neglect a little bit of like what people did. Like nobody's really talking about Marvin Harrison, for example, who was for a long time the single season reception leader in the NFL history. So like, that just kind of shows you like with new players coming in who maybe are really good players. A lot of times I feel like the common trend can be like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is really, really good. So, Hall of Fame type of player. So he's ahead of Peyton and no way.
Yeah.
Zach,
I mean,
what do you think?
I agree with Cody. It's a lot of, I guess you call it recency bias.
Yes.
What people are doing right now, what's in front of me. And, I call it getting lost in the sauce. I mean, like you get caught up in what's happening right now, current events, and it is exciting. It is cool. But if you look in the totality, and I do know this, all in all, I'm a Colts homer. I mean, there's no doubt about that. This is a Colts podcast. I've been a Colts fan I'm almost 40 years old, and 32 of those years I've been a Colts fan. So, I mean, it's just that way. But Peyton transcends everything, no matter where he would have played. And he actually, obviously he played in Denver too. He wasn't a Colt from day one all the way to the end of his career. And I still feel the same about him. I just think he's such a rare talent. I wish he would have gotten more time in Indy like Cody. Cody wishes he could have saw him more. I saw him. Funny story. I went to his very first game in his NFL career. Played against Dan Marino and the Miami Dolphins. And it was a pretty cool thing, man, to say two legendary, quarterbacks there at that game. And I saw him throw his first touchdown in the NFL. And there's something about Peyton Manning. You just always believed at the end of the game that Peyton was going to win the football game, and very few players you can actually say that about and actually believe it and feel it. So even without the horseshoe, I mean, truly, like Cody had mentioned, if you want to debate, he's not number one, he's number two. I mean, he's one or two. It's that simple. It's him and Tom Brady, and I think that everybody else will separate now. 10 years from now, we'll have this conversation about Patrick Mahomes being in that group as well, probably. And I don't think that's probably going to end up being recency bias. I think he's truly a very, very special quarterback. But that's down the road, and he has a lot to accomplish. If he wants to accomplish the things that these guys have accomplished the thing that's so crazy about those guys is they played so well for so long. It wasn't a flash, and it wasn't a 4 or 5 or 6 year span. I mean, we're talking about 10 years, 15 years plus playing so good in the NFL. Anyways, great follow-up, Stephen. What was the next question that you threw up on Twitter?
So the next one was, who is your favorite current player who's on the Colts? So Cody, who do you look at and go, yeah, that's like, you got the jersey, you're rocking that's who you're riding with, man. That is your favorite player who's on the team.
Well, if you see my hat right back here, you'll notice something. I'll just show it to the camera. I don't know if you can see it. You'll notice the number 13.
That is super clear.
It was like very, very lucky. That's one of my favorite things. But anyway, it was very, very lucky. It was, I believe it was my freshman year of college. This would have been back in like 2014. Okay. So, it was like right before the Colts and Eagles primetime game. It was like a couple days before it. I was down with some friends in like Castleton area. It was at the Castleton Mall. And we just like saw this thing. It was like a GMC type of thing. And it was like, oh, there's going to be players, Vontae Davis and T.Y. Hilton. And basically, and they said like it was at this time. And so I was like, okay, we'll go. Well, all we had to do was just go like test drive cars, and then we could go get like a picture and a signature from them. So it was like, duh, I'm going to do that. You can't see it off here, but there's also like a picture that when T.Y. Hilton scored against the Chiefs to win that game in the wild card game, I got that pic. They had those pictures there for him to sign. So like, it was like once in a lifetime opportunity. It was pretty incredible. Was very thankful for that. And even now with how great T.Y. Hilton's been, it's even more sweet to me. So he's undoubtedly my guy right now. I mean, a lot of these guys are honestly pretty new to the Colts. So T.Y. Hilton's kind of the old dog here within this Indianapolis Colts roster now. So yeah, I think for me, definitely T.Y. Hilton has just been a guy I was ecstatic when the Colts brought him back. Hopefully he can retire as a Colt because it's been crazy to just see like you mentioned earlier, Zach, when he talked about, Marvin to Reggie to T.Y. Well, hopefully it can be T.Y. to Pittman or T.Y. to Campbell there. Hopefully he can pass that on because he's definitely cemented himself as, I would argue, and people would say Raymond Berry as well, but certainly for me, he's the number 3 Indianapolis Colts wide receiver of all time. Only will be he'll be like the third Colt, I think, ever to have over 10,000 yards if he can get a certain amount of yardage this year. So, I mean, he's just had an incredible career. And I think one thing that with T.Y. Hilton that a lot of people he never gets respected. Like he led the league in receiving yards a few years ago. Nobody talked about him as one of the best receivers in football, but all he did was continue to produce. And it's just crazy to me that, okay, we love Marvin, we love Reggie for obvious reasons, but T.Y. Hilton's played with how many quarterbacks compared to these guys? Like those guys played with Peyton freaking Manning for how many years? And then Reggie Wayne with Andrew Luck for a couple of years. I mean, T.Y. Hilton's had Andrew Luck, Matt Hasselbeck. I'm not even going to go on. We could be here all night talking about all the quarterbacks that he's had to play with. But now with Carson Wentz, I feel like he has a great opportunity, hopefully, to eclipse 1,000 yards again, get over 10,000 yards for his career. And I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers of all time, just because of all the different things that have happened. He's been through 2 regimes now and has been through multiple quarterbacks, been through multiple systems. And he's just continued to produce at a high level. So my love for T.Y. Hilton is very, very strong.
So, Zach, before I throw it to you, I do have a piggyback question because it's definitely a debate that me and Zach have had on this show, is that I kind of think that this is T.Y.'s last year in Indy. Zach is kind of on the other side, if he has a big year, which I actually expect him to have a huge year. I think because Carson can't overthrow him. He's just going to chuck the ball. He's going to go. But Zach brought up that he thinks there's a possibility they could work an extension, maybe another year or so. Do you think it could be his last year?
Oh, I think it depends if he does produce. I mean, if he produces and he's near 1,000 yards, I think they'll bring him back. His desire is to want to stay a Colt for life. And I think the Colts are in a similar position too. I mean, you look at how much inconsistency they've had at wide receiver outside of T.Y. Hilton. They've invested so much in the last couple of years into wide receiver, and you feel pretty good about some guys, but you haven't had a true bona fide number 1 wide receiver, a consistent guy outside of T.Y. Hilton. Like you haven't had a guy that's done that yet. So I think for that reason, I'm going to keep T.Y. around as much as I can, even if it means he's not as productive or he's not the same player as he was. I still think he's a really, really good option as you start grooming these other guys to potentially take over for him in a year or two.
So there you go, Zach. You win.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just think that T.Y. got a bad rap in the last couple of years just because I still think he can produce at a fairly high level. I just don't think that he's had the quarterback, no knock on Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip had a fantastic year. He exceeded my expectations. But the one thing that Phillip just couldn't do was launch that ball down the field. If we noticed, I mentioned this in an earlier podcast, late in the season, Phil was just throwing the ball up and T.Y. was drawing pass interferences. And he said, you know what, I might not be able to get him the ball, but I know he's beating these guys and let's just get it up there and let's get these big, long 30, 40, 50-yard PIs on these teams. And that's a key indicator to me that he's still winning his routes, right? He's not out there. He's not losing his routes. He's not losing the step. I'm going to pick another player because he is actually my favorite Colts player, but I don't want to be boring. But I want to say this about T.Y. One thing that he doesn't get, enough credit for is T.Y. has always been a player that wants to get paid, but he's also always been a player that wants to go out there and play under any circumstances. He got his big paycheck. He doesn't sit games out. hell, even in the season where the season's over and we're playing for nothing, he wants to come back because he wants to set the example for now and for the future receiving core of what it is to be a true professional. And I mean, when you talk about a Colts guy, I don't know if there is a bigger Colts guy on this football team. That guy just, he's everything that you want to be when you put that horseshoe on your helmet. He's everything I want to go and pay. I'm a season ticket holder. He's who I want to see. I want to see a guy, that's not always 100%, that goes out there and does his very best to help his team win games. And there's no real bigger barometer to judge T.Y. by other than the fact when he doesn't play, the Colts don't play very well, right? I mean, like that's the facts. I mean, that's just it. There's no circumstances or there's no just crazy misnomer out there. When he doesn't play, they don't play well. So he's a really, really good wide receiver. But if we're gonna go current events, I think moving forward, I'm just a huge Jonathan Taylor fan, man. I think he's going to be a really, really good football player. Yeah, I see that shirt on his team. But I got a little surprised. I just bought his shirt the other day too. I'm waiting.
I got something for you. Keep talking. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Okay. Grab it, man. So listen, I just think that I think he's going to be the next special Colt. I really do. I think he has something about him that is just so special and so unique. And I think, he really reminds me of a guy almost like a Curtis Martin. Like Curtis Martin played for a long time. And I feel like Jonathan Taylor is one of the few running backs that's going to be able to play this game for quite some time, just because of the way he takes care of his body, the way he approaches everything. This guy, in my opinion, was a pro from day one. Like he is meant to play the NFL game. Like he gets it at all different levels, in the film room, and he has all the physical tools. We watch and I still just kind of just blows me away. I think I saw it on Twitter. Somebody threw it out there. That breakaway run he had against the Raiders last year. Those guys they were inches from him, and he just had that separation speed, which is just incredible,
and corners too, like track star players.
I mean, he's really a special football player. And I think he's worked so hard this offseason on catching the football. When he's given the chance, he's going to take his game to the next level. I love Jonathan Taylor, man. I just do.
I love it. So before I talk, I want to see because I saw something.
Okay.
Cody had something.
So I got this for Christmas, and it's looking better and better every day. I got this Jonathan Taylor mini helmet.
Oh, wow.
And yes, I know. I got lucky. I was like, I can't believe I got this. This is amazing. Thank you. Thank you, parents. You're the best.
That is all. I don't have it with me, but probably it's because it's on my desk at work. I have a signed mini helmet from Frank Reich that I won through Colts loyalty. So shout out to Colts
That's
loyalty
amazing.
on that one. It was the coolest thing.
Pretty cool.
Got the authenticity tag. It sits on my desk at my office. I mean, it's one of the coolest things. I've tried to win other ones. I've tried to win I think I tried to win a Quentin Nelson one, didn't. Back in the day, tried to win an Eric Ebron one, didn't. So it's one of the coolest things that I have sitting on my desk.
It's awesome.
So I love both of them. Back to what you were saying with T.Y. Zach too. I think part of it with him is, I think the reason we as fans love T.Y. is he seems to love the Colts as much as the fans do, and love the city as much as the fans do. He wants to be part of it. He wants to be there. He wants to play, like you said, like he's trying to get back for meaningless games. Like he seems to understand that, yes, I mean, it's a job. It is. It's his job. But like, the best thing as fans, these players come and go. But you stay a fan of the team. We're all on this podcast. We're all old enough that that's kind of how we came up. Like me and Zach, we've talked about this. The generation now is a little bit like my nephew who's 16. They follow players. They don't follow teams. He was a Cavs fan. Then he was a Lakers fan. Then he was a Heat fan because he's a LeBron fan. He was a Marshawn Lynch fan, so he liked the Raiders and the Seahawks. He just kind of moves around. But we're kind of from this generation, you latch onto the team. And like even last year with T.Y., with him openly saying on Pat McAfee, he turned down a lot of money from Baltimore. it just, you feel like he loves the team as much as you love the team. And I think that's just so endearing too. I mean, outside of Andrew Luck, you know, we don't talk about Ryan Grigson. It's a horrible time period, but T.Y. Hilton's probably his best pick ever outside of the most obvious pick in the history of the NFL draft. But so I'm going to go different. Dude, I love Darius Leonard. I love Darius Leonard. He plays with such passion and just such love that it's similar to me. He just, he feels like the old adage of you put him in the backyard and he's going to play just as hard. And I think last year proved it too. He played just as hard with no fans there as he does when Lucas Oil is packed. You know, I always go to the video for me of the Pro Bowl being canceled, and there's the video of him in full Pro Bowl uniform playing in his yard in South Carolina, like calling audibles and doing all these different things. He just loves it. And I think, like, I just remember him coming on, and I remember having no clue who he was. And I remember reading the scouting report saying he was the worst pick in the NFL draft that year. But then I remember him playing and having conversations with Titans fans here in Tennessee saying this dude's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and just being laughed at. I don't even know who he is. It was what I would hear. I have no clue. I mean, he's got 20 tackles in a game. Do you know who he is now? You know what I mean? And it's similar to what you say too. When he went down with the concussion, the team, he's kind of the heartbeat a little bit of the defense. The defense doesn't play the same way when he's not there. And kind of separately and selfishly, I love the fact that he interacts with the fans. You know, after the season was over, I think he jumped on Twitter and he's like, "Hey, I'm here for 3 hours. What you want to talk about?" And like, if you said something to him, he say something back. I think I joked with Cody beforehand. I got tagged in a thing about this weekend about what Colt player would hit the most home runs in the home run derby. And I said Quentin Nelson. And my old co-host Rashad said Darius Leonard, and Darius Leonard felt the need to chime in. And it was just this moment of, holy crap, that's Darius Leonard just chiming in randomly. But I love that. He just interacts with the fans. He seems invested. We all know he's going to get paid this year, so I'm excited about that. But I mean, I love him. I love Carson Wentz too, but he's got to prove it to me. He's got to earn my love a little bit. He earned my jersey but he's got to earn my love a little bit. So the last question is so not Colt centered. It was more of kind of like secret shame a little bit. We all love our Colts. We love our players on our Colts. And I'm not saying necessarily who would you want to take from another team and put on the Colts, but who's another player on another team that you look at and go, dang, like I like him. Like he's good. And I enjoy watching him. I can guarantee Zach will not say Derrick Henry. So, Cody, you go ahead while he comes up with someone because I just stole his.
Oh, okay. Well, the guy that I put was Russell Wilson, just because I feel like he's just not right now surrounded with a great team, but it just gives me like the Andrew Luck vibes of like, he's going to go out and he's going to play his heart out, and it doesn't matter who's around him. He's going to elevate guys. And I feel like he's disrespected a lot of times when talking about like top quarterbacks. But I think he's one of them, man. I think he is. And I just love his story. You know, I believe he was a 3rd round pick. Nobody really expected a whole lot out of him. And he's really turned it into a very successful NFL career. And, you know, it's kind of like, man, I wish he could get on a team that would surround him with more talent, because I really feel like he's such a talented quarterback, and he could do so well somewhere, you know, that has a lot of talent and is surrounding him with such. So Russell Wilson, I really like. If I'm going all time, probably Kurt Warner. I love me some Kurt Warner.
That's a good one.
Because I just love his story too. You know, being on the Rams, going to the Cardinals, leading them to, you know, the Super Bowl of all things. Just love that story. And like for a while, that's why, like, I still, when the Cardinals are like on the TV or something, I'll root for the Cardinals. Because of Kurt Warner all those years ago, I want to see the Cardinals do well. So, that's probably why I would say Kurt Warner, but yeah, current, definitely Russell Wilson.
Well, I like the tweak. Zach, I want to hear yours too. I want to hear current and then all time. I like that. I like that little tweak there.
Okay. So current, a player that I just absolutely I can't stop watching him play when he's on TV. It's Tyreek Hill, man. I mean, like dude is just so you just can't wrap your head around how a guy could be that small, but like that good and that explosive and that physical, he's just unbelievable. I mean, he's just a really, really fun guy to watch. So yeah, I mean, Tyreek is probably my favorite non-Colts player to watch, just because you feel like every single time he gets the football, there's that potential he could take it all the way to the house, right? Every single time. I mean, it's just like you almost expect that to happen. So yeah, I like that. I would say my all-time non-Colts favorite player is easily Barry Sanders. Easily Barry Sanders. I can specifically remember watching him play, Thanksgiving Day, and just going out there, against the Packers, and just these crazy runs, man, where this guy runs, 60 yards to get a 15-yard gain. I mean, but it's just magical to watch that guy play. I hated seeing his career end the way it did. I guess if you go to the Lions, I guess that's where you go for your career to die, evidently. But I mean, that's just kind of how it works out. But yeah, Barry was for sure my favorite non-Colts player. He was awesome to watch.
I like that. I mean, for those who listen who watch who are old enough, I know Zach. I know you remember Cody. I think you might remember Virtual Barry from the Madden games, where they would show him, and it was the Virtual Barry commercials, and he's juke and just breaking ankles, man. I mean, he was ridiculous to watch. It made watching on Thanksgiving fun, and I think my comment all the time with Zach on because I have to say it on Tyreek Hill is I feel like he looks like a bobblehead. Like his helmet's just too big. Like it's just a helmet running around the field. But and it's because he's so small, but he's so fast. Yeah. So I like those ones. My favorite player right now on another team. I mean, if you had asked me before everything, I like Derek Carr quite a bit. I like him because he's so underrated. He's very talented, I think. I think he gets grinded on. I think he's very underrated. I think he's just looked over. He doesn't get the attention, but I mean, he's very talented. I mean, the rumors were going around 2 years ago, the Colts were thinking about him. You heard that. I'm not saying it came from the Colts, but you heard a lot of talk about the Colts and Derek Carr that they may want to dump him. I mean, I like him. I like watching him. He's fun for me to watch. Plus, it's the Raiders, and the Raiders are kind of that big brand that's just most of the time fun to watch. Either fun because they're just really good, or fun because they're just exceptionally bad, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So, I mean, he's probably one of my current ones. Favorite all time, hands down, it's Michael Vick.
It's a good one.
He just you couldn't not watch him. I have a lot of fun with people on Twitter right now with the comparison between Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson, because I don't think it's anywhere close. Michael Vick he transcended the game in such a way. He changed the way quarterbacks played. He changed the way you played video games too. Everyone always picked the Falcons, because you're going to run 20 yards back and then run 50 yards for a touchdown because it's Michael Vick, or you're going to run 20 yards back and throw an 80-yard bomb because he had a cannon for an arm. And then, off the field wise, you can't help but like the kind of the redemption story that it was. He in Atlanta, he openly admitted he didn't study. He relied completely on his athleticism, which was amazing to watch. And then, everything happened. And when he came back, he studied and he played really well with the Eagles too. And he developed as a quarterback. He could actually throw the ball, which is something Lamar Jackson can't do. So, I mean, he was must-see TV for me. He was just, and living in Tennessee, I got a lot of Falcons games. And so I could watch him anytime he came on. But that's probably all time. I mean, just if I'm flicking through the channels and they got highlights on him, I mean, it's still seared in my mind. The run, and I mean, I'm not a Falcons fan by any stretch, but the run against the Vikings in overtime where he split the defenders and they hit each other as they tried to converge on him. If you've not seen it, look it up on YouTube. It's the greatest thing ever. They come in like this, and he just accelerates between them, and they hit each other. It's like a cartoon. But for me, I mean, yeah, it's Michael Vick. I mean, he just amazing. So the other part, I'm not going to do all the questions from the other the other trending topic, but I'm going to kind of mash them together a little bit. And it was more of it was kind of the opposite. Who did you not like? Who's your least favorite player and your least favorite team of all time? And I'm going to put a caveat. We can't say the Patriots.
Okay.
we can't, because I think all three of us would pick them, in a heartbeat. But let's not do Patriots, and let's see. So Cody, who is your least favorite team and player kind of that you've watched?
Oh man, that's tough, man. You might have to come back to me. I'm gonna have to think about this for a second.
Okay, we can come back.
I'm thinking.
I'm interested to see who Zach says. I feel like I might know his least favorite team and possible least favorite player.
Least favorite team. Man,
you want to say it because then I got to deal with the repercussions.
No, it's not going to be who you think it was. Are we going back a bit right now?
You can go back. You can go back. Yeah.
Yeah. I really. Well, I'll tell you the team I hated the most because they freaking cheated us out of going to the Super Bowl. As I hated the Steelers with Cordell Stewart.
There it is.
Man stepped out of bounds. You know what I mean? Came back in bounds. Terrible. I'll never forget that.
For those who don't know, Zach actually called out Cordell Stewart out in public for that.
True story. Yeah, it went well though. You know what I mean? I'm still here. I'm still living and breathing today to be on this podcast. So, somebody was looking out for me. But yes, I did. I was compelled in one night in Louisville, Kentucky on 4th Street Live. He was out there and I let him know, he stepped out of bounds, man. I said, I just had to let him know real quick.
Try not to laugh.
And that could have went south real quick for me, Steven, but anyways, so for me, that's the all-time moment. But truth is I hated the Cowboys growing up. I really did. I didn't like the America's team type of deal. I didn't like that crap. I just didn't like the Cowboys, but yeah, I'm going to stick with the Steelers, and I'm going to stick with Cordell Stewart. The year that we had Captain come back, and we played so well in the playoffs, and then we still ended up losing that game to Pittsburgh, a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I love it. Cody, did you think of who you got, man?
Yeah, so it's going to be a little bit different. It's not based off on my personal, there wasn't a team that like just takes me off for whatever reason. I just look at teams like from incompetency standpoint, and I just hate the Bengals because they're so stupid and they're so cheap. And it's like, you're going to ruin a special player like Joe Burrow's career because you guys are just a terrible organization. Like, you don't even have a freaking practice facility. Are you kidding me? Like, that kind of stuff just makes me mad. It's like, you're a professional organization. You didn't even protect your quarterback who just got injured. You didn't even draft Penei Sewell, who's sitting right there. I don't know. I think maybe it's just PTSD from watching that happen to Andrew Luck too many times. Mm-hmm. But when you just don't protect your best player like you should, in my opinion, that's just really stupid. And so teams like that just make me mad. I think I had a little bit of disdain for the Jets too, because they kicked us out of the playoffs in Peyton Manning's final year. It was his final game. And the Jets are just incompetent too. So those two would probably be mine.
I like those though. I like those because I've said, and I told Zach this and the listeners this before too, is that I thought the Jamar Chase pick was, in my opinion, one of the worst picks of the entire first round. Mm-hmm. Because I was shocked that they didn't take Penei Sewell. I thought that was, and like you said, I think all Colts fans probably look at it going, why the heck won't you protect your really, really good quarterback? See what happens. Like he's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt again. Best thing I've seen about that was they said on the promotional photo for the new uniforms, you can see the scar on his knee. So it's like, this, and you didn't do that.
Yeah.
I think I said you can't throw touchdowns to Jamar Chase if you're on your back. And that's what it's going to be. So,
yeah, it gives me kind of vibes of, if you remember years and years ago when the Colts picked Philip Dorsett in the first round, and I was just like, oh, he's going to be your number 4 receiver. Really? When your quarterback's getting killed, you have no defense. I remember that was the maddest I've ever been in the NFL draft. Like, I was like punching my mattress. I was ticked, man. I couldn't believe that happened.
Oh, it was a bad pick.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the team that I dislike the most is probably, I mean, all joking aside, was that it probably is the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I live in Tennessee, you know, I can remember before they were in the same division, it was Peyton's first year in the playoffs, 13-3. And it was the year of the Music City Miracle. And I was not at that game. My brother and my dad were at that game. And I can remember being so upset because I knew the Titans were going to play the Colts then. And I was going to have to hear it all week. And of course, me being who I am, and if everyone's listened to this long enough, I'm loud and I'm boisterous most of the time. I talked a lot of crap, a lot, to the Titans fans. And then they beat them. And then they realigned the divisions. And the Colts play the Titans twice every year. And so I have to hear it. I don't listen to local radio. And I have friends who are on the radio. I have people that I've talked with, people who have helped me with the podcast who are on local radio. I don't listen to local radio the week of the game because I can't hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about how great you think Ryan Tannehill is. I don't want to hear how great you think Derrick Henry is, how great your defense is. I don't want to hear any of it. Zach just gives me a platform now to be able to take that and shove it at people because he talks really badly about them when he wants to. And he clearly, I don't know if you listened, but Zach did not put Derrick Henry in the top 5 running backs for fantasy football on our last episode. And so man, I got a lot of slack from that, but I'm okay with that because they bark a lot. And for a team that's never won a Super Bowl, I think the funniest thing I've heard from somebody was, stop talking about your Super Bowl in 2006. And my response is, you don't have a Super Bowl to even talk about.
Right.
Like your most well-known moment is you came up a yard short. So that's probably my least favorite team. My least favorite player, I hate it. And it's on Titans. I hated Blaine Bishop growing up. I mean, it sounds horrible. He's on the radio here. He's great. I could not stand him. He just, I don't want to talk about that. He just got up in my craw all the time. He was short. He was loud. And it just annoyed me. And a lot of people may not even know who he is that are listening to this because he's been retired for so long. But man, he was just irked me as a Colts fan. So, I mean, I would love to say, like, you know, I think if I left it open, most of us would say it's the Patriots. But to kind of get creative and kind of see, like, and it's kind of funny, you know, we all have memories of why we don't like those teams. And Cody, I love the spin you put on it of just bad organization, man. You could lump in the Washington football team into that too. It's just a horribly run team
in there as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can just Jaguars, you know, you can throw so many things in there with it. So, I mean, we wanted to kind of cover those things because it was really trending. For me, it kind of shocked me at the amount of it. And I wanted to, with Cody on here and me and Zach, I wanted to kind of talk about it and just, you know, it's a quiet period in time. So I do want to answer. We're going to do one social media session question. Cody, I'm going to keep you in here because I want you to answer it too. Okay. I got to do a quick fun little on who's it. You know, it's social media sessions powered by One Call Technology, which is one of our amazing sponsors. It is a locally run telecommunications business, family owned, over 100 years of experience. If you think you're paying too much for your phone bill, you can call them at the 1-800 number on their website. You can also send them an email. You can send me an email. I work there. It's my business. So if you think you're paying too much, give us a shout. We'll take a look at it. Hopefully they can help you out. So I want to do this. I left enough time at the end because we were joking beforehand. Scotty, a Colts guy. I love Scotty. Scotty's been a really loyal listener to us. He always submits questions. He submitted a very long question. And because I have extra people here today, I have the ability to get a little assistance as I read this question and we answer it, because there's a lot to it. So let me pull this up really quickly. Okay. So Scotty says, so I have a way out there question. If, say, 4 brothers, all elite talents and 6'5" all are wanted by every college out of high school, but they want to play for the same NFL team, aka the Colts. They also want to serve their country, go on to serve for 4 years. Once out, they register for the NFL draft because they have to. No one picks them in the draft or the supplemental draft. This is like a game of Clue. They walk onto the Colts. Each one excels as elite, even shows generational talent in different spots. Elite, great, respectively. Quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, DN, safety, cornerback, safety. His question is, what would that mean for the current roster? And how long, with no college experience, would it be before Ballard or Reich brings them off the practice squad? And what would that mean for each of those spots on the current roster, especially the quarterback situation? Sorry for the long question. I've been crafting that one for a while. If it's too much, don't worry about it. Scotty, it's not too much, man. It is like reading a game of Clue a little bit. There's a lot of hypotheticals. So, and I want to clarify, I'm not laughing at the question, Scotty. I love when you send questions. And when we get into the season, we want more and more and more. It's a long one. And that's why it's going to be the only one that we answer. So what do y'all think? And do I need to reread different parts?
Break it down, please.
Okay. So you've got four brothers.
Okay.
They're all wanted by the colleges. I think he said they go into the military, so they don't play in college. When they get out of the military, they're immediately eligible for the draft. They go for the draft. They're undrafted. They all sign with the Colts. Okay.
Okay.
So they all excel at the positions they're at. And he's like cornerback, tight end, wide receiver, D end, safety, and quarterback safety. His question is, if you have these players, and you can kind of craft this in a different way too, if you have these players with no college experience, but they're excelling on the practice squad, how long does it take for Ballard or Reich to actually look at them and go, hey, maybe we call them up? And what does that do for those specific positions if that's the hypothetical?
My goodness.
It's a lot, man. So, Cody, I know you do social media questions too. We get some off the wall ones. I think the funniest one outside of this is I got one about black jerseys one time. So,
gotcha.
They're off the wall. I love our Twitter listeners. So, who wants to take a stab at it?
How about me just diving on in this one?
Do it, man. Just go head first and let's see what happens.
Solid for my boy Cody over there. He can just kind of digest a little bit of this.
Jeez.
If you're not watching on YouTube, Cody has got a look on his face.
Like, I'm just really like, I don't even know where to start. Like, wow.
So, Scotty, my man, this question here, man, I don't even know where to start. So I guess long story short, this is going to seem simple, basic, plain, but in this hypothetical that 4 brothers who are incredible talents go off to serve our country, come back, don't get drafted, come back to our practice squad and excel at their positions. I mean, the obvious answer is that if they're great at what they do, then they're going to play for this football team, right? Like, I don't think there is a timeline on that. I don't think there is. I don't think it matters. If you come out and you're the best player on the football team, well, then you're gonna play for this football team. I think Chris Ballard always kind of stands behind, preaching competition. And Ballard's been on record. He's cut a 2nd-round pick before. He's cut Terrell Basham. He was a 3rd-round pick. I think he's gonna play whoever is the best player on the field. I hope that I'm answering your question correctly, Scotty. But I think that's what you're getting at. I think you want to know how long it would take for them to identify the talent and then put them on the field. And I don't think it'd take long at all. If they can help this team win football games, well, then they're going to play on the field. And I don't think it really matters who plays at their respective positions. If they're the best player, then they would play.
Yeah. So I would say like positions that probably they wouldn't start in if we're going based off of the positions that he said. Probably quarterback for a couple of years. Obviously, it all depends on what Wentz is going to do, but the Colts seem to really be tight end at least for a couple of years. I think tight end certainly could be one that they bring a guy in, they keep 4 tight ends, and then he's in a year or two he's the number 1 tight end. I could see that really realistically being a thing. Pair him with Mo and Kylan Granson, and then Jack Doyle obviously is getting a little older, so and eventually Jack Doyle is not going to get re-signed or he's going to retire, and then boom, you have your number 1 tight end, and obviously we don't know what's going to happen with those 2 guys. Wide receiver is also one that's a little bit of a question mark. We touched on it a little bit. I think certainly he could. One of these guys could be that number 5, number 6 wide receiver if indeed they are that good and they excel in camp that in the preseason. I think certainly they could. Corner could be another one too, that I think potentially could be that. I don't think safety, because I think the Colts are pretty set at safety, but those are a few of the positions I think potentially the Colts could find themselves in. Linebacker, probably not, depending on what Okereke does, obviously, but maybe that Sam linebacker position, but that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. Like trying to decipher through. And so for the listeners who don't know, I did not read the question. As much as me and Zach talk, and me and Cody talk a lot too, neither one knew the question until I read it. And honestly, Scotty, that's only like the 3rd time I've read through it, and I kind of read through it out loud. That's the first time I've read through it out loud too. So, I agree across the board. Like I don't think that that a quarterback, their tight end, they really do like Carson Wentz, and they seem to really like Ellinger too, which is interesting, which is a whole different topic. But as you're looking across the board at the different positions, I mean, yeah, he plays who he wants to play. I mean, Ballard doesn't tell Reich who to play. Like we're none of us are saying that, but he does put the best player out there. I mean, Pascal's an undrafted free. Is he? He's undrafted, or was
yeah,
he?
He was.
Was he? Yeah. So I mean,
he was undrafted.
So he's undrafted. He's an undrafted. Straunt, who we've had George Bremer on. I know you guys have talked about it on Bring the Juice too. They do really like him, and he's a really late round pick. He doesn't really care. I don't think they care if you're round 1 or round 7 or undrafted. If you're good, you're good, and you're gonna play. And that's the beauty of the NFL anyway, is talent. Talent finds a way. If you're talented enough, it doesn't matter if you went to Alabama and Ohio State or you went to Mount Union like Pierre Garcon. If you're good, and you're going to get a chance.
Yep.
So I think we answered the question, Scotty. If not, DM me and we can kind of try to rephrase it maybe for next time. So I kind of want to take here at the end, like we always do too. And I'm going to jokingly say this kind of tongue in cheek. Cody, I want to give you the chance to kind of tell everybody where they can find you. If you guys are not listening to Bring the Juice, y'all are insane. Make sure that you do. Cody and Derek do a fantastic job. Not only do they do a great podcast, they're great people too. When I started the podcast, Cody and Derek were one of the first people that reached out big time, in my opinion, because they do have a really large following and kind of helped lead and help give advice on what this looks like in navigating this. So Cody, why don't you tell everybody where they find your videos, where they find to listen, how they follow you guys?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. And, it's like, other people help me along the way to figure out how to do things and whatnot. So why wouldn't I help other people, And so always glad to do that, man. Always glad to help out where I can. But yeah, in order to follow me, you could find Bring the Juice, YouTube. Obviously, you could find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, really anywhere you listen to podcasts, you can listen in. As far as social media goes, you can find it at BTJ Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can find the Facebook page for it as well. And we actually just got on TikTok, so I don't really know a whole lot on TikTok yet. I'm kind of learning a little bit, but we just got on that, kind of just post different highlights and stuff like that. As far as me, you can find me at CP Felger 55 on Twitter. I'm also on Facebook as well, and also on Instagram, but don't really do a whole lot on there. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah. So make sure you guys are checking that out. Also, like I always say, like we say in the beginning, we say it in the end, that please rate, review, subscribe, share, follow, do all of it. take a second too. If you got a second, hit the 5-star review, type a review. I strongly encourage Cody and Bring the Juice and Derek are one of the mainstays that I listen to, even through the off season. So I make sure, advise, hey, go out there and listen to that. I'm going to toss it over to Zach. I know Zach likes to always kind of end the shows too with some shout outs to our lovely, lovely listeners.
Yeah, man. I mean, obviously it's just great, the interaction that we always get. I just want people to know that they're never unnoticed. We do our very best to kind of comment and, DM. One guy who just had won a hat in one of our contests, Wyatt Law, who is, on my side, is one of my biggest fans, and he does a really good job of just interacting with us every single show. Like, he looks forward to it. He DMs me, hey, when's it going to be out? That's always a great feeling. But, just want to kind of piggyback off of what you said. It's so cool to have a guy like Cody come on the show and support us because, we are a tight-knit Colts community, and it's so nice to have someone who's there for you to, bounce ideas and questions and all of that good stuff. And, there's room for all of us to grow. It's not about, who's this or that or the other. We all support each other as we climb the ladder, and we always obviously know that Bring the Juice has done a very good job of climbing that ladder and putting themselves in a great position. So I'd also recommend going to listen to it, and it's cool. And I think that the concept of having all the visual stuff that they do is probably my favorite part, so maybe you guys look into that as well. But just a big shout out to everybody. Rate, review, like, subscribe, just like Steven said. And I wanted to also thank Cody for coming on and just kind of being so interactive with us and just being a person that we can say, hey, what do you think about this? And can you help? And he's always been willing. I know, Steven, you have a great relationship with him. He's always been willing to help behind the scenes. And that's not things that people always get to see day to day. So I just felt like he deserved his just due for that. And thanks so much, man, for hopping on. And this was a good one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
And a secret, little shout out here at the very end. Cody totally redid our beginning of our intro video too. Kind of helped us tweak that. He helps us with our videos a lot of times behind the scenes. And I want to make sure he gets credit for that because he just kind of reached out. He was like, hey, do you want me to take a little poke at it? And I'm like, yeah. And like
Sure.
Zach said, yeah, me and Cody get a chance to talk quite a bit. So I value him being able to finally, after 6-8 months of doing this, get Cody on here and let him kind of do a little bit. So y'all know how we always end it too. I love you, Zach loves you, and I'm 100% sure that Cody loves you as well. We're out.